Okay, let's talk about storage accounts. So Azure Storage is a cloud storage um, that is actually meant for availability and scalability. So we'll understand how can we take advantage of cloud as far as storing information is concerned. What kind of data you can store in Azure in terms of blob storage, SQLs and queues and files, and how can you access them, and how Azure data is providing redundancy. How can we replicate information to other regions? That's what we're going to discuss. So, what is Azure Storage? Azure Storage is letting you store information for the applications and those applications that require scalability, durability, and highly available storage for their data. And Azure storage is massively scalable. That means that you can store and process hundreds of terabytes of data to store any big scenarios like scientific or financial analysis and media applications. Or you can store small amount of your data as well that may be required for a business website. Wherever your needs fall, you pay only for the data that you're storing. Azure Storage is currently storing tens of trillions of unique customer objects and handles millions of requests per second on an average. So Azure Storage is elastic, so you can design applications for large global audience and scale as well. So Azure has divided their storage into four parts. So Azure Storage provides four services. Number one is a blob storage. Second is a table storage. Third one queue storage. And finally a file storage. Blob storage will store unstructured data. Blob stands for binary large objects. A blob can be any type of data like binary data, documents, media, application installers. A blob storage is also referred as an object storage. So a blob storage is an object storage and not a block storage. The second one is table storage that constitutes of your unstructured or structured information. Blob storage is unstructured. Table storage is structured. So table storage is for your no SQL types of data, which will allow rapid development and fast access to large quantities of data. Queues are meant for uh, messaging, for workflow processing and communication between components of the cloud services. File storage is responsible for storing application information, considering it as a replacement for file servers. It is based on your standard SMB protocol. Azure virtual machines and cloud services can share file data across application components through mounting shares, and that can be mounted on your premise as well without any connectivity. Of course, you need to have internet connectivity. An Azure storage is a secure account that gives you access to services, various services inside the Azure storage, like shares, queues, tables, and containers. So when you're creating storage account, within the storage account, you can create tables, queues, files, blobs. It lets you choose what performance you want. If you want premium performance, you can select premium storage accounts. So let's go talk about um, Anyways, let's go talk about each one of these storage types. Let's say a blob storage. A blob storage account is a specialized account. Just Rajesh just called me up, saying, "Do we have a class?" Anyways, a blob storage is a specialized storage account where you can keep all your unstructured data, like we discussed earlier, and they are called as binary large object or blobs.
Mhm.
So blob storage accounts are similar to your existing general storage accounts that we have, but they are designed for availability, scalability, and performance, just to make sure that you have 100% availability at all times. A blob storage account exposes itself using keys, like certificates. So let's go ahead and create some of these actually, and then that's where we can go ahead and explain about each one of these.
Mhm.
Let's click on add storage account, and then you'll be asked to type a name. This name must be unique. That means you cannot type test or something. Just give a name that is globally unique. No upper cases, only lowercase. No hyphens, no
Okay.
special characters. So if you keep the
Okay.
mouse, just put your mouse over the red thing, it will tell you what's missing in
Yeah.
there.
Right.
It already
Yeah.
exists. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Now here are asking whether you want a general purpose or a blob storage. Let's go ahead and select blob storage. In fact, let's select a general storage for now. You selected that? Yes. Okay. So here you can see performance, whether you want standard
Standard
performance
or
or
premium.
premium,
Hmm.
right? That will
Right.
decide whether you want high IOPS or what is the value of IOPS that you want. The next one is redundancy, replication. Let's select standard and keep moving. There is a data replication. So how do you want your data to replicate? So data in your Microsoft Azure account is always replicated to ensure your durability and high availability. The replication, just as the name says, it copies your data either within the same data center or to a second data center, depending on which replication that you've chosen. Replication protects your data and preserves your application uptime, just in case there are hardware failures. So if your data is replicated to a second data center, it is protected against any failure in your primary location. So replicating your data always makes sure that your storage account meets the service level agreements for your storage, even in case of failures. So you can create your storage account by choosing one of these. So when we say SLA,
Okay.
Microsoft says that we will give you 99.99% SLA. Okay. So when you're saying LRS, locally redundant storage. So locally redundant storage will replicate your data three times. So if you keep one file, it will be copied three times within a storage scale unit. So a write request that returns successfully only once It has been written to all three replicas. These three replicas each reside in separate fault domains and upgrade domains within one storage scale unit. That means that will be within that region only. So they are never in the same physical disk. So if you are looking for the cheapest solution as far as the redundancy is concerned, you can go for LRS. That is the lowest cost
LRS.
option. Yeah, least durable as well. So in the event of a data center level disaster like fire or a flood, all three replicas will be lost or unrecoverable. The locally redundant storage will still be desirable in certain scenarios where you want highest level of bandwidth for Azure storage replications. And if your application stores data that can be easily reconstructed, you may opt for LRS. Some applications are restricted to replicating data only within a country. You don't want data to move out of that country due to data governance requirements. Okay. So to mitigate the risks that are given by LRS, you can then choose GRS, which is geo redundant storage. So what did we understand with LRS? LRS is replicating your copies, replicating your data 3 times within the rack or within that particular region, within the data center. Whereas GRS, just geo replication, geo redundant storage, replicates your data to secondary region that is like hundreds of miles away from the primary region. So if your storage account has GRS enabled, your data is durable in case there is a catastrophic failure happening, in case there is a complete regional outage or a disaster in which a primary region is not recoverable. So for a storage account with GRS enabled, an update is first committed to the primary region and then it is replicated 3 times. Then the update is replicated asynchronously actually. So you will have 3 copies in the local region and you will have 3 copies in the secondary region, which is hundreds of miles. And there also you will be having LRS. So GRS is LRS plus GRS. Considering that the replication is asynchronous, there will be some delay in the way we are replicating information. In the event of a regional disaster, it is possible that changes that have not yet been replicated to a secondary region will be lost. If the data cannot be recovered from the primary region, there will be some delta. The replica is not available unless Microsoft initiates failover to the secondary region. If Microsoft does not initiate a failover to the secondary region, you will have read and write access to that data after the failover is completed. So if an application wants to read from the second region, if the application wants to read from the second region, what do we choose? The fourth option, which is RAGRS, read access. So it is GRS, LRS plus GRS plus read access only. So when you create a storage account, you select the primary region for the account. The secondary region is determined based on the primary region. It cannot be changed. We don't have any option of choosing the secondary region. Now we are choosing South Central US. South Central US storage account will be replicated to North Central US. North Central US is replicated to South Central US. East US goes to West US. West US goes to East US. Northern Europe goes to Western Europe. Eastern Asia goes to Southeast Asia. This is standard. This is all defined in the document from Microsoft. They say this is where your second copy will be. So we spoke about locally redundant storage, geo-redundant storage, read access geo-redundant storage, and one that we're missing here is zone redundant storage. A zone redundant storage replicates your data asynchronously across data centers within one or two regions, in addition to storing three replicas locally. So LRS is providing higher durability than LRS, and data that is stored in ZRS is durable even if the primary data center is unavailable or unrecoverable. Okay, so locally redundant storage is within that rack where you have a collection of racks of storage nodes, it's within that. Whereas zone redundant storage is data getting replicated asynchronously across data centers within one or two regions, in addition to storing information in the local rack. Geo-redundant storage across different region, which is hundreds of miles away, and read access, which is RAGRS, is about storing the information plus giving the read access only. Now questions are, can I change the geo replication type of my storage account once I have chosen it? Well, you can change the geo replication type of a storage account between LRS, GRS, and RAGRS using GUI and other portals. But ZRS, once you select ZRS, that cannot be converted to LRS or GRS. There is no downtime when you are changing it.
Mhm.
Will there be an additional cost if you change replication type of your storage account? Well, yes, of course, there is an additional cost. Okay, let's go ahead and select geo redundant storage. In our case, let's select the highest one. And storage account encryption type, yeah, let's enable that. Secure transfer, let's enable that. And rest of them, you know, yeah, enable, and select that and create. All right. Let's go. Okay, it's still doing it.
We got it. Storage box.
Let's go click on it. Awesome. So you will see various offerings right here. As you scroll down on the middle blade, right? You will notice the blob service. You will notice what is the file service. Scroll down further. You will see tables and queues. Right? All
Right.
four are created within the storage account. I would like to explain each one of these options: file, table, queues, and blobs. So most of it is just self-explanatory here, but then it's important for us to know these things. From the exam perspective, you have quite a lot of questions in this one. Storage account. Okay. Okay. The blob storage account. You got the first one, which is blob. Let's scroll up. You have a blob service. Blob service. Yep.
Yes, here.
Set, yeah, blob service. Now, as we told earlier, that blob service is a specialized storage for storing your unstructured data, and you can keep your pictures, videos, virtual hard disks. All your virtual hard disks are getting inside this. So all of your virtual hard disks are stored inside your blob storage. Your diagnostic accounts are also stored here. Inside the blobs, you have something called as a container. Right? Container. Click on container, please. You have to create a container, and that's when you can store that information. Plus container. Click on plus and create a container. Give it a name. Yeah. So we
Then
have
we have
access type,
access types.
private, blob, and a container. Let's select container.
Done.
Okay.
Got the container here.
Wonderful. So you can actually start uploading information right away just by clicking on the upload button.
Okay.
So inside blobs, you can keep your documents, photos, videos, music, any backup files, computer information, databases, images, any text for web applications, big data, logs. So every blob is stored inside a container. Containers are providing security for your objects as well. A storage account can contain as many containers as you want, and then one container can contain any number of blobs. The maximum limit for this is 500 terabytes. Now 500 terabytes is the limit for one storage account. In your one subscription, you can have 20 storage accounts. So per subscription, you can have 20 storage accounts. Per storage account, you can have information up to 500 terabytes. Good so far?
Yeah.
There are three kinds of blobs. One is a block blob, an append blob, and a page blob. A block blob is optimized for streaming information, good choice for storing documents, media, and backup files. Append blobs are similar
Uh,
to
and I think the number of storage accounts limit is 200.
number of storage accounts.
Yeah, it's a 20, right? It is
20.
500, 500 terabyte is the limit and TB, and it's not 20, it is 200, I think.
Um, mm, mm, mm,
Per subscription
per
200
subscription.
storage.
Yeah, yes, yes. So are you sure it is 200?
Yes.
Storage accounts per subscriptions is 200. Okay. Mm, okay, we can. Let me check in the documentation right away. So instead of keeping it for later use,
Yes.
if you're saying it, I'm sure you have read it somewhere. And
Yeah.
I would like to love to correct myself. Okay, yeah. What you said is absolutely right. Storage account per subscription is 200. Yes, by default. And I'll send the service limits link in the chat here, so that will be helpful for. There you go. Okay. Can you click on the upload button there? Upload.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you get browse something? And then you can browse. What
Yes.
about advance? Advance. You can advance. Close it. Just close it. There's something called as advanced. Right, blob type. You have three. This is what I was explaining. Uh, block blob, page blob, and append blob. What is block blob good for? Block blob is good for documents, media, and backups. Append blobs are good for logs, as the name itself says. It is good for it is as good as blob, but there you can in scenarios where you have to continuously stream information into your blobs, like logs, where new data has to be written every time at the end of the blob. Appending operations, that's what will be append blob used for. A page blob is optimized for your disks, hard disks, random writes, and you can go up to 1 terabyte in size in in page blob. An Azure virtual hard disk, an Azure virtual machine is nothing but a page blob, and that's where your virtual hard disk will go. At times when you have humongous amount of information, where you may want to not use your internet or wire or wireless to upload information, at that time you may want to ship your hard disk to Microsoft to import and export data directly to data center. For that purpose, Microsoft gives you another option called as import export service to transfer data to the blob storage. So all you have to do is ship your hard disk to the Azure data center, and you can use this to transfer data from Azure blob storage to the hard disk as well and ship to your on-premise site. So when you have terabytes of information of terabytes of data to and from Azure, but uploading and downloading over the network is not feasible due to limited bandwidth and high network costs. There's a requirement that you must have your hard disk encrypted with BitLocker for your security. We'll talk about Azure import and export in another section. So we know about blob, append blob, and page blob. Okay. All right. So you know how to upload that. You can play around it. Next one is, what is the next one? File services, blob, and then file. Right. So
Size. What is this block size?
you're representing
Right.
each block size there. What is the size of each block? Because in blocks you are uploading information, and that information is good for documents, media files, backups.
So
So
it gives just 100 MB here, right? So is
100
it
MB,
something that if I
100 MB for each block of data. That is not a limitation
block
for
of
the
data?
entire block. Yeah,
Okay. So is it something like if I upload a 1 GB file, it will create it into 100 MB blocks? Is that right?
that is true. What is the size of each block?
Block.
So
Okay.
blob
Got it.
will let you upload massive amounts of data, and you want to define what is the size of each block, because certain application is reading each block, and if you have each block size of, let's say, 100 MB, and your application is not able to read 100 MB per block, then that's difficult. So you are just configuring it as per your application, right?
Yes.
Okay. Next one we have file, right? The font is too small. File services, yes. The file services is just a replacement for your file shares on the network. So you can access them using SMB protocol. Let's go ahead and do that actually. Click on file share. Click on, you created that already? Yeah, click on file services.
File services. Yes. Files.
Alright. Files. Click on file share, please. Give it a name. What is the maximum size you want? Give it a name like file server, anything. And in the quotas, let's type 1024 as the size. And then click on it. And then click on connect. You can directly start uploading information. The upload button is there, but let's try to map that right. On the right hand side, you see the commands. The first command is for Windows, net share, net use. The second command is for Linux. Copy that.
Right.
Open your command prompt on your machine, and then just copy paste it. Don't execute it. There's something called drive letter. Change that drive letter to anything. Just maybe P colon or T colon or R colon, S colon, something. Enter. Now, if you go to your My Computer, in the where you see your different drives, C drive, D drive, etc., there you will see F drive. Right. Can we go to F drive? Double click
Yes.
on it, and you can start copying information, and you should be able to see it in Azure. You want to try that?
Yes. I
Yeah.
see my Excel sheet uploaded here.
Awesome. Awesome. So that's a great replacement for your file service.
So we
So
are not dependent on any servers.
now,
This will directly store the files uh, on the storage directly. We are
right,
accessing storage.
right,
We don't require any servers. Okay.
correct. The big problem is with the permissions. How do you give permissions? Anybody who has this access can just anybody who has this link can just go ahead and map it. So earlier we used to give authorization and authentication with Active Directory, but it is not supported at this time. The storage
Okay.
account credentials are used to provide authentication. This means that anybody with a share mounted will have full read-write access. Anybody who has this link will have full read-write access.
We'll read and write.
Yeah, but
We can't restrict.
we can definitely control that. A little bit of control is there. Can you please scroll up a little bit? Scroll up, and then you will see something called access keys.
Access keys. Yes.
Click on it, and then you will see two access keys out there. Now here are the two access keys, 1 and 2, right?
Right.
Key 1 and key 2. So if you look at key 1, that will be the same as the one you typed in the command prompt. That will be like a user ID and password. We can regenerate this key, and then that drive will be no longer accessible.
So it will be no longer accessible to anyone, right?
Anybody, yes.
Okay, but this is not serving our purpose. So the file share, we will be having number of folders, and I need to have each folder for different departments. So we cannot restrict in that way.
It's either 1 or 0 here. There's nothing in between.
Okay.
It's like Microsoft says take it or leave it. So
Okay.
like the way we had granular level of access permissions in our traditional environment, that is not there right now. Right now, they may be coming up integration with Active Directory later on, but right now we don't have it.
Okay.
But what you also have is something called a shared access signature. Can you please click on it? Shared access signature. Now this gives you the flexibility to give certain set of permissions. So let's say I want a key to have permissions only on file storage, and I want only give him read permissions for a certain period of time, start time and end time, and from a particular IP address only. So we can do that here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's great. So what we discussed is blob storage and file storage. We really have to do some more labs on this one by using third-party tools like Storage Explorer, Cloudberry. We still have to talk about table storage and queue storage. We will end the session for now because I have to rush for another meeting in 10 minutes. What we'll do is split this up in two parts. So what we did is part one right now. We'll do part two tomorrow, where we'll be talking and discussing about the third-party tools and using the shared access signature as well, using the third-party tools, and then talking more about tables and queues. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Rajesh. Thanks, Sadiq. Thank you, Asghar.
Thank you.
Thank you.